goals. I called it, goals are the stepping stone to your dreams. And I wanted to just, I want this to be interactive today and a little bit, workshop style. So make sure you have a pen and paper. But I just wanted to get a quick feel of, how do you guys feel about goals? Because I know there's some people are like, I'm so sick of goals, blah. And then there's other people who are like, I must have a goal. Where are you guys coming in? Or you ladies? Go ahead, Linda.
I must have a goal.
Okay.
I feel like when I get in my car, I take out the GPS and I put the address. I need to know where I'm going. I can't just wander around and hope to get there. So I need that structure.
Yeah. Anyone else have a take on it? Allison.
I'm sort of in the middle of where I really, like, goals are very motivating to me. I'm naturally that way, but they also can be kind of a double-edged sword, in that like sometimes goals can cause me not to let go of what I can't control, if that makes sense. And
that totally makes sense.
I've heard a phrase of focusing on your actions and not, your actions towards the goals. And that has helped me some in with different goals I've had. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? Deb?
Goals are great, but I think they also need to be fluid. I think there are things that that if you set them and then set times that you reevaluate them to where, it's like, okay, what's working, what's not, and not saying I didn't reach this goal, so it's not working, but maybe what can I tweak? Maybe, how can I look at it different, etc. So I think without that reevaluation periodically, you have that frustration.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know for me, I like to do it along with like the equinoxes and the solstices, because that brings it like 4 times a year and I'll remember. And Donna, I think I saw your hands go up.
You did. And I'm kind of in the middle where I write a lot of lists and I have my calendar, which has like tons of things written on it. And I have my, so I have my baby steps and I know my goals, but I don't really I don't say in a month, I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. But I do, but on the other end, I'm doing the baby steps. So I'm in the middle.
Action towards it. Yeah.
Right. I've had really 2 goals in my life and both I've reached. So I just don't, I know for some reason, I don't think 5-year plan, which Linda's going to say but or 10-year. I just don't, I'm just lucky to be here tomorrow.
Mary, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit different. I have long-term goals that are big goals. Like Donna, I don't know, for me, I need a long-term goal. I need something to really, I have some really big goals, but I'm also setting short-term goals. And what I'm learning, it helps me to have a deadline, because that pushes me more to take the action steps, because I get really complacent and go, oh, well, I didn't reach it this week, next week. I have to have, and I'm working on that because I don't always meet those deadlines. I'm really strict about them, but it helps me to have those deadlines for the short term for taking the action steps. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. And everybody is so different. So, some people might be really naturally just grounded, take action, go, go, go. And then there's other people who might be really naturally like dreamers and, way up here, like visualizing and seeing. And ideally, we want to marry those 2 things together, because that's when we are, moving forward. If we're just up here dreaming, we tend to be flittering around. But if we're, grounded here and we're just kind of doing stuff, we're kind of just drilling ourselves into the ground. We're not moving anywhere, without that vision. So with that, Tammy, did you have something?
Yeah, see, me, because of my condition, I have short-term goals, but my long-term goals is clients. So but I have to keep them as a short-term goal. We talked about this last night with goals, but I was so out of it, I couldn't even say it. But Mike, I have to have short-term goals. Like I have a session the day after Christmas. That's my short-term goal. That's going to get done. Whether I break a bone or not, I will be there in pain and bubble wrap, but I will be there. But I have to have short-term goals. And my long-term goals are, like I said, get more clients and get more work just to keep me busy, to keep me going. So, you know, I have to have different goals than most people. I can't put long goals. And if I don't get my goal done that day because I'm not feeling good, I've learned to just say, there's another day, maybe. I might be here the next day, but I can put off things. I've learned goals are just a goal. You don't have to beat yourself up if you don't do it.
And sometimes people call them intentions, right? And so some people have kind of gotten a negative connotation with the word goal, and they say intentions or, you know, inspiration, or, you know, they change the vocabulary around it, and that's okay too. And, you know, just identifying that, like, you know, every single one of us kind of said something a little bit different. And, you know, it's just like eating. There's no one diet for everybody. There's no one anything for anybody. Every one of us is individual. That's why we're all wonderful, right? We all bring something different to this world. So same thing, you know, the things that inspire us and the way we go about them are going to be different. But I want to tap into it a little bit today. So what I want you to do for a few minutes is write a letter. And you can write it to me, or you can write it to someone you trust, someone who you confide in, you know, somebody that person, you know, you can go to who's not going to put any judgment on you. All right. No judgment whatsoever. And I want you to write this letter 5 years from now. So we're going to time travel real fast to the future, 2025, and you're writing it in present day in 2025. You haven't seen this friend in a while, or you haven't seen me in a while, right? And you're just, hey, this is what's going on. Let me tell you about my life right now. And just start to let the thoughts flow.
Oh, dear
All right.
Linda, you were so smart to be friends with Kahlua.
You could write that one to me.
Well done, girl.
So go ahead and just let's take a few minutes. And, you know, if we don't finish, that's okay, but like just to kind of get it flowing. We'll give it just another minute. All right. As you wrap it up, and you can go back and keep writing your letter, right? So we don't have to end here, but, for the sake of time today, I figure let's keep moving. But as you write that and it's coming out of you, are you having any feelings about what you've written, about this life that you've just created? Anyone want to share anything?
I actually thought that was really effective, which no offense, surprised me.
That's okay.
Because it seems like such a simple activity, but it
Mhm.
really clarified. I'm always taking different trainings. I like to learn, and there's so much to dig into. And it kind of clarified where I want my path to go. Plus, I
Yeah.
created a very lovely life in the future. So that's nice too.
Yeah, it's sometimes we make all these little goals to don't always know exactly where they're going. So if we go way off, then we can create the path right to that. Yeah. Now, as you think about it and you look at that life, do you have any worries? Do you sometimes we're afraid that maybe we don't deserve that? Does any of that come up? Okay. Go ahead, Donna.
I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I loved my letter, and I didn't feel any of what you just said.
Good.
Yeah, I'm like looking forward to. I'm looking forward to moving. I'm living in a different place.
Oh.
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Better not be at my house. Just kidding, Donna.
They're going to be
No.
RV buddies.
But I did write you, Linda.
Oh, cool.
Aw. Nice. Now, sometimes that can be a big factor for a lot of people is, you know, they in their head, you know, consciously they want these things in their life. This is how they want life to look. But then subconsciously, you know, that little voice comes in and says, you don't deserve that. Who says you get that?
You know,
And
in my letter, I addressed that. So isn't that
good, nice. You know, we're a little bit more evolved here in the 1099 ladies, so we know better. But
Yeah.
but that comes up for a lot of people. So, you know, as you're coaching the people out there in your life, right? That's what they're working against. And when you see the people who it seems like, why are they self-sabotaging themselves like this all the time? That's why. That's what's going on.
Yeah, I
Um,
wrote in my letter, the friendships I have gained through the 1099 ladies has been life-changing. I saw myself through their eyes and was so encouraged because it quieted the noise of my youth.
Yeah.
You know how we all hear different stuff from growing up, just,
Yeah.
you know, not necessarily our parents, but other family members, kids, ex-boyfriends, blah, blah, blah. So it's nice to put that down now so it doesn't influence your modern life, you know?
Yes. Well, so now we time travel back to the present, or maybe even, you know, past, because now what we want to do is reflect. So it's one thing to go forward and have this idea of where we want to go, but as history has taught us, we need to look backwards at where we've already been in order to learn from it, right? So as you go back and you look at the past year, what can you learn from that? And it's funny because, you know, I've spent a lot of this year watching people complain about 2020. I mean, it's been epic. And I thought it was a fantastic year, but that's because I've been very intentional with my life for many years. But what I want to point out is that, yeah, 2020 was a year of amplification, right? So if something was out of balance, it was amplified this year. And so all that means is if there was something about the year you didn't like, let's make a note of that because we want to take steps to tweak that, to adjust it, to change it going forward, right? So looking back, what were some of the things maybe over the past year that didn't work, that didn't go well, that were not the wins? If you want to go ahead and make notes of those.
I'm with you, Tulu. I think that a lot of mindset with this 2020 has, you know, people feeling down and feeling upset. And certainly there was a lot of loss in lives. And, you know, I have felt that personally and continue to feel that personally. Just lost another couple of good friends. So, but even with that, I think that there's this almost blaming that goes on instead of taking some personal responsibility.
Yeah,
And
I love that word.
even saying, something to the effect of, life happens, and, it is nobody's fault. It's not God's fault. It's not your fault. It's life happens. And we're in that cycle of, people die, people are born, all kinds of things happen. And so I think when we get out of that blaming mentality, we're a lot happier.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it was a lot of the dis-ease that people were having this year was not even about the virus itself. It was about, what people were telling me to do, or I can't be out, or, it was all these other things that people were worked up about. Or, when I have to be put in a house with my family, I don't like them. Well, so let's talk relationship building. We need to go back and tweak our relationships with our family, because, more than likely we can't just get rid of them. So,
well, I know a guy. So what I was thinking, did you ever hear this expression, the best soldiers come from the toughest drill sergeants? Has anybody ever heard that expression? So it's a great expression because a lot of people in the military come out stronger and better because somebody was on them the whole time, every step of the day, pushing them, right? So with that in mind, I was thinking I wanted to live a life where my cup was always half full instead of half empty. Well, if everything is going along swimmingly, there's no challenge there to do that. That's cakewalk, right? So when things aren't going wonderful, that's where the challenge is, finding the good when it's hard to find. But this is what, I believe if you truly seek the good, you will find it. You got to really look for it sometimes. Sometimes it's hard. But I wanted to live a life where my cup was half full. And this year was great because here's the thing. If I could do it this year, I can do it any year. I own this scale now because this was a tough year to do that. So now I'm like stellar. People literally come into my life and they start this and I'm like, well, but what about this? And what about that? So it's just a remarkable gift to be able to find the positive of almost anything, even horrible things. I just think that I'm really, really pleased at adding that to my toolkit because that always being positive like that, what do you think happens? It attracts positivity.
Yeah.
And you want to turn your life around? Try being positive. Try abandoning complaining for 30 days and see what your life looks like. It's amazing. Come on in, the water's fine. That's what I say.
Yes. Which brings us to our next part. What were your wins in 2020? What went well? Because we want to do more of that.
I came in late, but I think I came in at the right time because it's just super positive and I love it. In fact, I have felt a little bit of guilt being so positive around people who have gone through struggles. But something happened yesterday and Linda was there. She wasn't in my small group, but at the Jay Navarro event, it was super positive. And for privacy reasons, I'll just say that I went to a breakout room and there was someone there who discussed and Karen, you're not muted and I hear some background noise.
Yeah, somebody's not muted. I'm sitting very still, so I know it's not me.
Yeah.
Probably Clue. Just kidding.
And they were very negative about the business was so bad, and it was bad for them. And they actually didn't even have a place to live that was secure any longer because of it. And I don't know the background of how it became that way, but they have been renting Airbnbs to find housing. And I couldn't help but to leave that situation thinking that mindset matters and that their mindset has not helped them not take that path. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. When you're stingy and you're coming to the table with being like a miser and holding on to every little tiny thing that you have and withholding it from the world, that's what the world greets you with.
It was one of the biggest things that I noticed moving here, actually. Florida is wonderful, wonderful people. However, that housing crisis hit Florida a lot harder than it hit most of the country. And a lot of people had lack mentality. There was not this camaraderie that we have here. And it was actually a big shift. I was so grateful for that in moving here because, yeah, you could see the difference. And, people there, if they were doing the same type of work, it was like, oh, the enemy, my competition, and I'm not going to support you. And, and then they weren't doing well because they had that lack mentality. And it just sort of, that was what they were projecting, and that's what they were getting back.
And
I have to say, sorry, Chrissy, go ahead.
If it weren't for this pandemic, I would have never met any of you likely.
I said that all the time.
I agree.
And every single one of you has helped me in some way this year.
Yeah.
I can say the same exact thing. 100%.
Yeah,
I'm right there.
Absolutely. Well, and that's why I always say life is happening for you, not to you.
I know. I tell people you say that too.
Go ahead, Donna.
So I'm going to come at it from a different angle. Because life does happen for you, and which I've learned over the last 5 years for sure. And this year, I'm very, very fortunate to still have my business, even though they're really hiring is not a big thing right now, with the with the pandemic. But I know a lot of people who have been greatly, impacted by the pandemic and have lost their companies and are going to lose their house. So, I can see it from both sides on this year. Just, we didn't see it coming, and bam, I mean, so many people. So
But that's the thing too with opening and not having the blinders and opening the vision, because maybe that's leading you to another place where you were meant to go, or, you
I'm
never
talking
know.
about seeing COVID coming, its damage.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't see COVID coming.
Yeah.
And it's and it's like the ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
COVID was the rock, and boom, 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 boom. So I feel for the people, and I'm sure some of them, they need to change their mindsets, but I can sure understand where some of them are coming from, just because of the things that have gone on. And you hope that it gets better for them, and you hope they're able to change their mindset, and maybe someone like us is around them that will do that and plant that seed.
So it's
I don't.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tammy.
I don't know who said about being positive around somebody with condition, with things going on in their life. But you know what? People don't realize, like with me, I'm always positive. And yeah, I'm fighting cancer. I'm fighting for my life and everything. But you know what? Seeing somebody else positive, it actually helps me get my mind off of that thing. So that's why I'm so positive. And even if I'm depressed, I mean, yeah, you guys saw me break down that one day, and I tried to be strong and positive that day, and I just totally lost it. But, I try to stay positive because I know somebody's got it worse than I do. And, even though I'm dying of my cancer, but there's somebody worse than me. There always is somebody worse, and it's like, or in worse position in their business and everything, and I'm struggling, but you know what? Hey, life happens. You just gotta put on a smile and put on your big girl panties and just get out there and do, because that's the only way things are going to get done in coronavirus world, is if you just do it yourself. You can't don't sit back and say, oh, the coronavirus, or oh, I'm sick, or oh, I got back pain. Because let me tell you, I'm in pain with this rain day. I got things to do today, and it's after this call, I'm going to do them, then go to the next call, then do it. But I'm going to slow down because my body can't take it. I did it too much yesterday. So, but positivity works in your business, not negativity.
Yeah. Ultimately, you have a choice. You can choose to live every day miserable, or you can choose to live it content. and just, making that shift. It doesn't make you a sucker or a fool or, like you're just wearing your rose colored glasses, or maybe you are, but great. I would rather be wearing my rose colored glasses because I'm just attracting more roses.
Yeah.
I think that it also becomes that whether or not you dwell in it. I mean, we all have stuff that happens and negative things, and you wouldn't be human if you didn't feel upset or when something negative happens. But it comes to, I remember not recently, a while ago, that my husband and I, when we were working, both lost our jobs in a short period of time, and somebody asked me, how can you be just so positive about what's just happened? And I said, because it's not going to change the outcome of that. So I need to move forward. So it's whether you react, you have that negative reaction. We are human.
Yeah.
But then you pick yourself up and say, okay, what are my resources? Where can I go? I have a roof over my head. I have family that I can go to. I have friends that support me, whatever it is. And you look at those resources and you use that. So you don't live in it. You don't dwell in it.
Yeah,
Well, and that's part of it too, was that honoring the emotion, right? So you allowed it to live out its moment. A lot of people don't. They suppress, they don't want to feel anything negative. And then what happens is they, stuff it down and then feel the negative ongoing instead of just letting it happen, get it done. And now let's move forward. Because what you focus on grows. So what seed do you want to plant?
I'd like to add, two things, one of which I just forgot. Lord, it's been that kind of morning. But my dad gave me this little sign, and it says, the pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty.
That's right.
So that's by
Yeah.
Winston Churchill. And that's, I think, I remember what I was going to say now. My father passed away in March. And so you immediately are feeling the emotions. And if you don't allow yourself, whatever emotion it is, just like Khalil was saying, it will come out sideways.
Mm-hmm.
It will come out. Just whether or not you're going to let it out in its purest way, whatever, crying, yelling, whatever you have to do, you just get it out, and then you jump right back on the horse again. Right, Tammy?
Yeah, and I want to actually bring up a time when I was in New York City and I was in a Jewish temple for Purim. And the rabbi is reading the story of Purim. It's the story of Esther. It's an incredible story. She's this young 16-year-old girl, and she's faced with this challenge. But her uncle says to her, and I can go right back in time. I remember how I was sitting when I heard these words because it was so impactful. He said, how do you know you were not born for such a time as this? And it's just this idea that, oh yeah, we have all these things going on. How do you know you weren't born for this day? This is why you're here.
I actually watch an astrologer who actually said the same thing. Everyone who is here right now has chosen to be here for this time. Like, this is a shift in everything. Like, this is beginning the shift, and we all chose to be here.
Right. And this was 40 years ago, and I can still remember everything about that moment. That's how, wow, a moment it was for me. This whole idea.
What did you say?
How do you know you weren't born for such a time as this?
Okay, thanks.
Mordecai says it. He's a super cool uncle. The whole story is great. I mean, she's a 16-year-old girl. I was a 16-year-old girl. She saves the entire Jewish nation. So you think a young girl did all that? Man, what does God have in store for me? So it's just amazing. I love that story. I remember going home from that experience and I was telling my mom about it, and I'm like, and they have a cookie. So there was like this hamantash. So anyway, she goes, you're not converting. But the point of the story was not all that nonsense, just this whole idea that you were born for this moment, to make a difference, to have an impact. This is your moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's just such a powerful thing for me.
And with that, what I suggest we move into doing now is, and it might not come to you right this minute, but to noodle on, you know, in the next couple weeks as we move into the new year, what is your inspiring word for the year? Finding that word that will just, you know, bring you back into this space of that letter and you know how you're going to go and how the year is going to go. What is your 2021 word going to be? And I'll admit that one usually takes me. I usually have to step back. Oh, joy, I like it. I usually have to step back and let the word come to me. Like I can't just sit there and, okay, this year's word is going to be. Sometimes it takes a little meditation, a little stillness. Sometimes
Well,
it comes right to you.
since I'm never still,
That's my favorite part about you too, by the way.
Connection. I
the,
like that, Deb.
the first word that actually came to my mind, and it's very apropos, is intentional.
Ooh,
Because
I like
you know you can just take your eyes off the whatever for just a second, and a darn month has gone by.
yep.
And for me, I see the squirrels, shiny balls. It's all around me. You know what I'm saying? And I need to be more intentional, and you know, to focus on where I am in the present moment. So intentional is my word.
I was talking to someone yesterday who says that they do that, and what they'll do is like get out paper and write out the word and, you know, glue and glitter all over it, and they'll make a few of them and just have them all over the house. So, you know, different places in the house, wherever they're going to go, they're going to see that word, and it's going to just, you know, trigger again.
I'll get my glitter out.
Well, that's why I mentioned it, because I know you're a crafty one. So,
I'm a crafty one.
all
And I'm
right.
going to say, be unique, be yourself. And that's my word all the time. Thank you, Linda, because she uses that all the time. And that's my word for every year. So, and I have not changed it since. So
Nice.
Yeah, my mom used to say, you got to be you because everyone else is taken.
That's it.
I attended a goal setting workshop a year ago, and as a joke, I wrote down that I'd be a travel advisor. I think I shared that in here before. I attended that same goal workshop 3 months ago and wrote down a sales goal, and I met it. When I wrote down the first goal, I thought it was BS. I had no idea what would happen. Be careful what you ask for. Be
That's
careful.
exactly. It's like a genie in a lamp. Be very specific. And with that, I want to get more into the grounding of things. So, you know, we've created this dream and the inspiration. So let's ground it a little bit. And one of the things that I really like to do is brain dump. So just because you know how, like, as you're thinking of the stuff and all these ideas come in your head, and I'm going to do this for my business, or I'm going to do this at home, and then it just starts swirling all over and you get overwhelmed. Just brain dump it, write it all down, get it out of your head, just let it all out. And that lets your mind clear out again so that you can think clearly once again. And from there, start to look at motivation. So I talked about, you know, you can have things with your word, but also, you know, just overall the goals. Now, this is where you want to identify, how are you most receptive? Are you a visual person? Are you an auditory person? Like, what works best for you? I think Linda was the one, she told me a few years ago, where she had like a recording on her phone that she would listen to it every morning. And it was just kind of her stating her goals. And one of them was the, you know, some of the things with the 1099 ladies that have all come to fruition. So other people are more visual. They want something to look at. So pictures that represent all of these things. Then the next thing we want to do is start to take action on it. So here we have this vision for 5 years down the road. We're not going to we're not going to act that right. No, just take this, please. We're not going to do that right now. We need to break it into smaller steps, right? We need to chunk it out so it's not so overwhelming and daunting. So just bite-sized pieces. What are you going to do? Like, what is the first step that you would take towards that life that you just wrote about? Just one step. And that would be your first action. And just an idea of when you would like to do that, right? So maybe by March or maybe by February, you know, when you want to create that first step. Sometimes we make the steps too big. Like, I was working with somebody who, you know, she had something she needed to get done for work and she kept pushing it off week after week after week. And I said, well, what's happening? You know, how much time have you, you know, do you need to do for this? Well, 3 hours. Well, nobody has 3 extra hours in their workday. How can you break this into smaller pieces? Like, what are the first like 15, 30 minutes that you could do of this task? Oh, I could do this. Well, next thing you know, something that she had pushed off for months and months and months with no activity, nothing happened. All of a sudden, she finished within a month because she chunked it into like 15, 30-minute tasks. So making sure that, you know, they're bite-sized pieces so that you'll actually do them, and giving yourself an idea of when do you want it to happen. And the other thing I recommend is, I know a lot of people who are so calendar resistant, but I learned a lesson many years ago. Your calendar is not about what you have to do. It's about who you want to become. So the calendar is not a to-do list. It's where you prioritize your life. So if you're not putting in your family time, it doesn't happen, right? Things like that. You've got to prioritize your big blocks. Like, if you've ever seen that exercise, you have the big rocks that you put in the container, then the smaller rocks fill in that space, and then the pebbles come in and fill in the other spaces, and then the sand comes in, and then the water, right? So put those big rocks in your calendar first, because those are the most important things, not a to-do list, because to-do lists end up making us feel defeated, because a lot of times we don't get everything done on the to-do list, and then we feel like we failed. But if you're putting in those big rocks, this is what I want to accomplish this week in this life, you know, put those in and then fill it in with all the other stuff. That's where you start to feel accomplished and that you're moving in the right direction.